Even now I can still hear the laughter. The cavernous studio echoed each sneer, each careless dismissal like a marble tomb magnifies footsteps. We were supposed to bring our final paintings for Professor Giuliani, but everyone knew the real judgment came from the other students. Old oil stains feathered the floor, black, brown, ochre, the muddy palette of old wounds, and the stink of linseed oil clung to us as if artists had a scent. My canvas shivered under the bout of attention. All those faces, Martina with her incredulous snort, Luca's smirk as he leaned back dangerously far in his chair, and Chiara, whose rolling eyes never quite landed anywhere near my work. I kept my shoulders squared, hoping to seem less fragile than I felt. My palms sweated and my heart ticked hotly, same as always, but underneath, the silence drained the color from my thoughts. "It's naive," someone said. I think it was Paolo, the one who liked to paint bruises into his landscapes, the shadow of violence in every leaf. Those colors too optimistic. This is Rome. Rome is old, it's grey. Why paint like you've never seen paint? I'd built something tender on the canvas. Rooftops of Trastevere burning with sunset, laundry lines strung with color, an old woman in a window whose hands were raised as if conjuring the light. I wanted movement and hope after so many days where I felt neither. Giuliani squinted, his beard twitching. He took a long time. "Perhaps your city is not our city," he said finally, and the message was clear enough. "You see Rome wrong, you see everything wrong." I tried to explain the choice, how that old woman was my neighbor, Signora Battisti, who used her wrists to snap sheets like sails. How the color belonged to her, to anyone who insisted on brightness, even as the world dulled itself with exhaust and resignation. Laughter bubbled through the group, not even hostile, just incredulous. "You'll never sell sentiment." "Italians don't want fairy tales," Martina said, voice all smoke and vinegar. "Find a hobby." Later that day, I walked home past crumbling facades, feeling like I'd been stripped down to nothing. The city was honey and rust in the late autumn, damp creeping up my ankles. I thought of the studio, of faces twisting in the blue light, of the way my own family glanced around whenever I mentioned painting, unwilling to challenge my foolishness but unable to hide their embarrassment. We lived on Via della Lungaretta, where my mother sold scarves in a shop so narrow she turned sideways to enter. My father had died the year before, leaving me with a stunted bank account and expectations he had spent a lifetime cementing. "Art is for tourists, not for sons," he used to say, as if to protect me. Inside, my mother was folding scarves by color, long rows of silk slipping between her rough fingers. "How was your day?" she asked. She looked at me the way you look at fruit in a market, checking for bruises. "It was fine," I lied, and she nodded, accepting the fiction. That night after dinner, I looked out at the courtyard where scooters whined and neighbors shouted broken greetings. I set my sketchbook on the windowsill and drew the stray cat leaping the fence, the scribble of life against stone. I paused, staring at my hands. They didn't feel like an artist's hands. For weeks, my paintings gathered dust in corners. I took a job moving boxes in a warehouse by the river. My mother refused to say she was relieved, but relief soaked the house. One less worry. I stacked crates and let my dreams fade to chalk. Sometimes I ran into classmates, their portfolios underarm, talking about Milan or Florence or how Giuliani had said something encouraging for once. I felt invisible, like a ghost watching a life that belonged to someone else. There was a night 3 years on when I found myself back at Piazza Trilossa, the place I always claimed inspiration. A group of tourists ringed a man painting wild abstracts with mad, swirling arms. The colors caught the street lamp, and for a heartbeat I remembered what it was to want. I walked home through the golden streets and let myself believe, if only for an hour, that I could still do more than move boxes. In the months that followed, the ache grew. I worked by day, but at night I returned to my sketchbook. Then a friend, Marcello, called with a strange invitation. "Come paint a mural in my bar, I have an ugly wall. I'll pay you in drinks." I took the job because it was pointless, because everyone said I should give it up, because I knew deep down that I had wasted too much time already. I painted the mural over 3 nights, warm oranges, tall cypress trees winding toward the moon, and kids leaping a fountain. When I finished, my hands hurt but my chest felt lighter. People came and asked who made it. Marcello was a terrible businessman but an excellent gossip. "The artist Daniel, he is from here, painted all my walls, my whole heart," he'd bellow. That led to a second mural, then a cafe, then an email from an architecture student begging for a design for her graduation project. I said yes to everything because I had nothing left to lose. My mother watched me quietly. I saw the line appear between her brows, the same line my father wore. "You are working," she finally said, sorting through receipts. "But not at a job." She hesitated, wanting to be supportive but fearing the world would punish us both for my leap. I shrugged. "It's something." Time bent and folded. Some nights I painted until the sun peeled the color from my walls. I ate simple meals, counted euro coins, learned to stretch paint and patience. There were months where I wondered if I'd made a mistake, but slowly, impossibly, people started to notice. My murals appeared in blogs and photographs of my colors shimmered on strangers' screens. Then came an email. An American gallery was scouting for new work from Rome, something local, something fresh. They saw a photo of my mural on Instagram, the cafe on Via degli Zingari. Would I consider submitting pieces? I sent in everything I had, every canvas stashed beneath my bed, sketches and finished pieces, scenes from rooftops and markets. They chose one, Trastevere's rooftops at sunset, the same vision that my classmates sneered at so long ago. The days after that happened in a blur. I shipped my canvas overseas, feeling like I was shipping my stomach with it. The gallery sold it within days. Then an invitation, "Come paint a mural in their lobby, come be seen." I flew to New York. I saw snow for the first time. The exhibit was wild, loud, overflowing with cameras. Some people asked deep questions about my city, my process, and I realized they only wanted authenticity. My optimism could be currency. My colors could travel, could belong. Success did not feel like thunder. It crept in, slow and patient, like rain soaking old stones. I sent money home, enough that my mother paid bills without worry. Articles appeared with my name spelled correctly. The days at the warehouse faded into trivia, but absence built a new ache, the ache of exile. I missed the slow afternoons at the cafe, the clatter of market crates, the exasperated affection in my mother's voice, even the meanness of my old classmates, sharp and alive and real. Rome was grey sometimes, yes, but sometimes it sparkled and it was home. I worked abroad for 2 years. By the end, my savings could buy a flat, something I'd never imagined. I signed a contract with a gallery in Florence, securing solo exhibitions every spring. Once, I was a footnote in someone else's story. Now, young painters wrote to me, timid, asking for advice. But everywhere I went, I talked about Rome. I insisted on it. I painted it even on freezing New York brick, warm terracotta as defiance. I told myself I'd go back once I could prove I had succeeded, not just to strangers, but to my family, to the classmates who had laughed, to the professors who had grown grey in their doubt. The invitation came one humid May morning. A city redevelopment program wanted 3 local artists for public murals in Trastevere, my neighborhood. I returned the following week, suitcase heavy with clothes and canvases, eyes itching with sleeplessness. The air in Rome was as thick and sweet as warm wine. My mother met me outside the airport, her hair now gone iron grey. "You look tired," she said, patting my cheek. "I'm fine." This time I almost believed it. The city shuddered with memory. I passed the old scarf shop, the faded mural on Marcello's bar, the alley where I first drew on the wall and prayed nobody would notice. At home, my mother and I ate simple pasta, and she unfolded the newspaper, tapping on an article with my name in bold type. "You are famous now, eh?" she teased, her eyes bright with pride and something else, something cautious. The neighbors whispered, my aunts called, "Now you are a painter after all." The mural would go up over 1 week, a public event, overseen by city officials and media. I worked alongside Martina and Luca, old classmates whose ambition had followed different streams, teaching, graphic design, small commissions. Martina's laugh was quieter now. She shook my hand firmly. "You made it, Daniel," she said, almost embarrassed. We worked in the square as spring heated the air and blossoms slipped from windowsills. I planned the mural obsessively, Roman rooftops but storied with new detail, scars, pigeons, laundry, the gold-pink sky. My colors were bolder, my lines surer. Every day a crowd gathered, locals, strangers, even skeptical teens filming for social feeds. My mother came at lunch offering sandwiches, her hands squeezing mine. "It looks beautiful." On the final day, the unveiling drew a crowd so large that the square felt stacked to the brim with bodies. Reporters, gawkers, city politicians, even Professor Giuliani himself, his beard trimmed but his eyes as sharp as ever. Martina stood at my side, relieved maybe to witness and not be the focus. I peeled away the scaffold's last sheet, Rome unspooled in color, a living tapestry. Colors ricocheted off the old stucco, children pointed at painted cats. The pigeons looked real enough to startle the crowd. Light spilled from each window, and above it all the city shimmered, not with fantasy but with the hope I'd once been told was ridiculous. The crowd hushed, then applause broke. I caught familiar looks, former classmates, neighbors who'd once muttered, old friends who never believed. The mayor shook my hand. My mother wept openly, her pride unguarded. And then, as the sun slipped between buildings, Giuliani approached. He stared at the mural for a long time. Perhaps this is our city after all, he said, voice rough. I felt something inside loosen and spill, all the years of doubt sluicing away into the cobblestones. I looked into the crowd and saw Martina wiping her eyes, Luca grinning, even Paolo, shadows softer now. That evening, after the crowd faded into shadows, my mother and I walked home together. The moon caught the paint, the mural glowing like a living thing. The air was thick with jasmine. You came back, my mother said. I had to, I answered. We climbed the old stairs, laughter and voices echoing up the walls. The city was grey in places, yes, but also burning with possibility. I closed my eyes and breathed in every sound, the sing-song shouts from piazzas, the buzz of scooters, the shuffling hope in every footstep. Out my window, Trastevere unfolded, not just a skyline but a promise made real. I belonged here again, not as a cautionary tale but as proof that even the wildest dreams can return home, bearing colour enough for everyone.